Good afternoon, folks. If I could have your attention for just a few moments this afternoon. First of all, my name is Nick, and I'm a pastor at Grace Church down in Davidsonville. We're located about 20 minutes south of here at the corner of Route 2 and Birdsville Road. We have services on Sunday morning at 9:30, and I would love to invite you to come. If you did visit, I assure you that you would be treated with respect and with dignity. Now, I have an important question to ask you this afternoon, and the question is this: how is your relationship with God? How is your relationship with God today? It's the most important question, really, and the most important relationship. It's more important than our relationship with our children. It's more important than our relationship with our wife or with our husband or with our boyfriend or with our girlfriend. I'm going to read to you from the Bible, from God's Word, and it talks about our relationship with God. It's Jesus speaking to his disciples, but he says it so that all of us can hear. So this is what it says. Jesus said, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not an iota, not a dot will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Now, folks, what does this passage say? It says that God has a very high standard for us. And he says that he's not going to lower it just because that would be easier. God's law is based on his character. God is loving. God is holy. He's honest. And he expects us to be the same, to do the same to other people. Now, if you think about this standard that God has for us, ask yourself, how are you doing? Do you always tell the truth? Do you always look at others with purity? Do you always have pure motives? If we're honest with ourselves, none of us is as good and as holy as we should be. We don't always love other people. We sometimes hold grudges, even toward those that we love. These are all clues. This is all proof that our hearts are not as they should be before God. Our actions spring from our heart, and none of us is perfectly loving, perfectly just, perfectly forgiving as we should be. Now, again, I asked you, how is your relationship with God today? I ask that because God made you. God made you in his image. That means that you were created to know him and to love him and to reflect his character in all of your relationships. All of us should be loving toward other people, but none of us are. We live in a culture of calling people out for their sins, for their transgressions. And in many cases, that should happen. People deserve to be called out and called to account. But we have to submit ourselves to that same scrutiny, right? And based on God's standard, none of us keeps it. None of us loves God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. And none of us loves our neighbor as ourselves. And if God gives us justice because he is good and because he is just, he will punish us. And the punishment is eternity in hell. Now, friends, I don't want any of you to go there. That is why I'm standing up here. This is why I'm willing to be embarrassed, why I'm willing to say things that might be offensive to people. It's not my intent to offend you, it's my intent to tell you the truth. There is only one person who lived perfectly. There is only one person who loved God with all of his heart, mind, soul, and strength. and his neighbor as himself. And his name was Jesus. Unlike you and unlike me, he lived perfectly. He always treated people with respect. He always loved other people. He always welcomed the outcast. And at the end of his life, he died as a sacrifice for sinners. He was punished like a criminal, but it wasn't for his sins. He had no sin. He was taking the sins of the world upon himself. He died on that cross a very shameful death. But then 3 days later, he rose from the dead. He proved that he was the Son of God, friends. And he says, anyone who would come to him, God says he will save you, he will forgive you. For all the ways that you have failed to live up to God's perfect standard. For all the ways that you failed to love even members of your own family. God says, I will take those sins that you have committed and I place them upon my Son so that you don't have to be punished forever. So friends, I'm happy to share this good news with you. If you have any questions about God, if you have any questions about what I said, if you disagree with something that I said, I would be more than happy to talk with you. Some of my friends are here. We would be glad to talk with you. These are very important matters. So once again, my name is Nick. I'm a pastor at Grace Church down in Davidsonville. We're located 20 minutes south of here at the corner of Birdsville Road and Route 2. We have services every Sunday morning at 9:30. I would love to have you come and visit. But thank you for listening, friends, and have a good afternoon.